I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.
Hello horror hounds, welcome to my horror house and welcome back to our Scream-a-thon. We're looking at Scream 2 today, a film which at the time when it came out, I absolutely loved it. The kills were more brutal. You could definitely see that there was a different person beneath the cowl and the mask of Ghostface. Things had seemed to ramp up in the viciousness stakes. I've called to it a little bit in this rewatch, but only a little. After the smash that was Scream, a sequel was turned around in very short order, and for such a quick turnaround time, I actually think part 2 is really still quite solid, although now with some slight reservations that I'll get into. One big tick in the plus column for me is the introduction of Stab, the movies within a movie. We get our first look at the Stab franchise, which is the film adaptation of the real life events of the first movie in this cold opening, which kind of ham-fistedly addresses how white the entire original film was. I'm not sure if some of the supposed meta subtleties at play here. Let's put a couple of black characters front and centre and let's kill them first because the black characters always die first, right? That's the rule. However, with what they're given to do, this quite extended cold opening now at in a movie theatre at the screening of Stab with this couple is a really nice little mini movie within a movie. Lots of fake outs, who's going to get it, where's the threat coming from, especially with the cinema handing out Ghostface masks and costumes. So loads of ghost faces running around, loads of ghost faces screaming at the cinema as characters die. We get the superb sort of pastiche of the opening of the first movie while we're watching the opening of the second movie. The detail that I love is just before the first kill in the stalls. Our first victim hears someone whispering in the next stall. It's some sort of like, you can barely make it out. It's a sort of babble, someone talking about mummy, mummy, da, 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 da. And then he gets stabbed through the cubicle wall. I believe that this is a callback to Black Christmas, a film which itself deals with a group of sorority sisters receiving obscene phone calls and then being killed one by one. But each time they pick up the phone, the obscene phone calls is that mad babble of Billy. A nice little through line of the name Billy as well from the first film, Billy Loomis. I truly believe, I've got no basis for this whatsoever, that the killer there is trying to do a little bit of Billy from Black Christmas, which will pay forward to the fact that the rest of the movie in the main is set on campus and sometimes in and around a sorority house. I really like the move to campus. I think it's an excellent setting. It's got a lot of potential and it's got a lot of slasher history to draw from as well. Our introduction to Sydney is beautiful with her using her call screening technology, and you can sort of see how she's evolved. She's got used to the prank calls. She's had to. She carries a burden now from being a survivor from the first film, but she's still got her wits about her. She's still ingenious, and it's that sort of level of, she gets a slight evolution with each movie that helps keep me rooting for her. She's not just the same old. She's not just repeating the cycle of victim or attempted victim over and over again. So as I mentioned in my previous video for Scream, the killers from the first movie are dead. How are we going to have a sequel? The smartest thing Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson did was to decide to keep the MO, to keep the look of the killer and have each movie be its own separate murder mystery, its own whodunit, its own little mini giallo or extended Scooby-Doo episode, if you will. And I think it's smart. It's just so smart, and it keeps each entry really fresh. And with its nod to the metatextual aspect, the killers now seem to be attempting to make their own sequel to the killings, the horror movie inspired killings from the first movie. What's not to love? Well, one of the things that's maybe not to love is that a lot of it centres around a group of kids who are studying film, and I say this with love and a lot of recognition for what's on screen. My God, they're obnoxious. Film snobs and film fans, and I include myself in this, can be obnoxious. I mean, even Randy, if I didn't know and love him from the first movie and I was sharing a seminar class with him, I would be thinking, my God, what a dick. It allows for some fairly easy and breezy meta commentary on movies and the state of movies and sequels that I just take as sort of like a fluffy edition. It's sort of like the souffle of the films. I don't really dig into that meta stuff. I don't think it's deep enough to do. It's just a bit of fun. We get a nice evolution from a conversation in the first film of who would play them in the movie of these events, where we see, I think it's Tori Spelling and Luke Wilson recreating the high school hallway scene between Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich from the first film, and I'll be honest, it's a hell of a lot of fun. For us older film fans, we get a nice little cameo from David Warner. David Warner is welcome in every single film he appears in. It leads into a little set piece where Ghostface joins the Greek chorus in the rehearsal for the play of Troy, where Sydney is playing the role of Cassandra. It's a neat little set piece just stuck in the middle of the film. It doesn't make much sense, but it looks great. It's a bit disorientating, as it's supposed to be. In line with the supposed rules of the sequel, it's a bigger, sort of more intricate, fancier set piece that kind of doesn't make much sense, but it's there because sequels have to have those kind of things. I kind of dug it. I loved the visuals of Ghostface in the robe joining the Greek chorus there. And then after that bit of fun, right out in the open, in the daylight, with these broad widescreen shots where you can see everything. The unthinkable happens. There's the scene which I think gives Scream 2 its own identity, cements it in the franchise. The brutal killing of Randy. Wasn't expecting it first time I saw it at all. I know that there are a lot of Scream fans who are still sore over it. I'm glad that they didn't Hollywood reverse it ever. He's dead and gone, and I think that actually adds to part of the brutal, cutthroat feel of Scream 2. Dewey stabbing as well, super brutal. I mean, the killer really goes for it. Earlier on in the movie, with the scene in the police car where the policeman gets that pole that goes through his head and through the windscreen. I mean, nasty stuff. Nastier than anything we saw in the first movie. That said, I don't think the cast gel as well in this film. They seem to be more disparate rather than a unit. I spoke in my previous video about what an excellent ensemble cast the original movie had. If you want to wave it away, you can suggest that those group of kids had grown up together. They'd known each other for years. This group of teens and early 20-somethings at college are meeting and getting to know each other for the first time, so they don't have those ties and that friendship, but they don't pop. There are less characters who pop. Jamie Kennedy popped off the screen. Skeet Ulrich at the end popped off the screen. Lillard popped the entire freaking movie. David Arquette popped. Courtney Cox popped. Here we have Jerry O'Connell, is it, as the boyfriend? Bland. He's just doing his thing. He's not really got anything to work with. He's just the boyfriend, the supportive boyfriend. There's no shades of dark there to even make you think ever, ooh, I wonder if he's the killer. I mean, you look back to what Skeet was given and what he did. I mean, he's a wrong one from the start, isn't he? Sarah Michelle Gellar, as much as I love her, she's given nothing to do beyond really fulfilling this film's version of the Drew Barrymore sequence. Like that, it sort of sits on its own in an island in the middle of the movie, separate from everyone and everything else. It works at the start of the first movie. It's the beginning of everything going wrong, and then you hear the rumour spread. Here, the film kind of like goes, we'll put Sydney and all the recurring characters to one side. Now here's Sarah Michelle Gellar's little piece where she's in the sorority house and she's getting the phone call, and we'll have her death scene now, and then the film kind of starts up again. All the pieces seem slightly more disconnected, and all the cast seems slightly more disconnected than they did in the first film, until you get the returning members back together. Neve, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Jamie Kennedy. When they work together, it's like clockwork, which is why the scene with Randy, Dewey and Gale Weathers works so well. These movies are bright as well. This Randy killing is wide out in the open in the middle of daytime. Even the night scenes in Scream movies are bright. They don't look obviously like horror movies. They look a little bit more like daytime soaps, dare I say it. Really, really nice looking, really widescreen, glidey camera, beautifully lit daytime soaps. They're never framed and shot and lit like a typical horror movie, is what I'm trying to say. Bringing Cotton Weary into the mix, played by Liev Schreiber, who just appeared on a TV screen in the first film, is a masterstroke, and one of the things that these films, especially the first three, continue to do is mine a mythology that is set up in the first film that seems really thin, but there's actually an awful lot in there that you can get out. Bringing Cotton Weary into the mix is an excellent move. Have him be pretty sleazy. He's not an evil character, but he's got completely understandable motivations that are completely like anyone else's. Survival. He's had a rough time and he wants to make some money. You get the impression that that's always who he was, always out for himself. It's probably why he slept with Sydney's mum. He puts himself first, but it's nice to have that different kind of dynamic, and then put him with Neve Campbell, and they work really, really well together. Welcome Cotton Weary to the fold. He's a great addition to the cast, and pulling on references to Pamela Voorhees, and more references to Pamela Voorhees in this second movie, makes absolute sense when the killers are revealed. It's quite a kick seeing Timothy Olyphant acting all mad and being all young, because he really didn't hit my radar till Justified, and now to go back and watch him go, oh yeah, he's a pretty good killer. He's he's nutty. His whole plan is absolute nonsense. To say that movies did it to him, and this weird plan that the killings. This movie is only the setup for where the real money is, in the courtroom, and he really thinks he's going to get off. I love the fact that Billy's mum, his partner in crime, just says, well, that plan was absolute nonsense. My plan is just revenge, and she then becomes the Pamela Voorhees of this franchise, the mother out for revenge for the death of her son. I thought back when I first watched it that the sort of exposition-y, oh yeah, we met on a serial killer internet forum and he was always going to be a killer, I just steered him in the right direction, sounded a wee bit lame, but my God, how prescient does it sound now. The notion of someone young and impressionable getting online and being groomed to commit atrocities is just all too real world. It's just too normal now. It doesn't seem far-fetched at all. At the time, again, it seemed to me a little bit like, oh yeah, old dad references current tech to sound hip and trendy, but no, he was on the money. He was on the money. So all in all, there are times when it feels a little bit more G'd up than the first film, more random and angry, and other times it feels a little bit more hollow compared to the first film, which I think was quality from start to finish. If the intention was to bring a sequel that just did what the first one did, but more of the same and sometimes bigger, not necessarily better. I think it absolutely succeeded. It's going to be very interesting to return to the next film, which has been historically hands down my least favourite of the franchise by quite some distance. Let's see what I think of it, I guess, when we return with Scream 3. I mean, he's a Ron from the start, isn't he?